So I just want to start this message off by saying I am a hugger. Yes, I am. And I always have been a hugger. I like hugs. You know, the embrace is cool. You know, it's connecting to those that you love, your friends and your family. Yeah, I'm a hugger, right? And I was just thinking about that, like the difference between someone who is like more touchy than others and they hug and stuff. Like, because I'll be the one who's talking and I just like tap you or something sometimes. That's me. Like, that's natural. I don't have to think about it or anything. It just happens. Right? And then there's some people who are definitely not like that. I have friends that are not like that. I have some family members that are not like that. And I remember one of my good friends, we had a good talk, right, one day. And we were by the water. We were just talking. And then, we were going to go our separate ways. And I embraced her. And I felt her, like, clench up, like, ooh. Like, oh, wait. I don't know what to do. And then she was like, that she's not used to it. Like, she said it after the fact. Not, I don't know if she said it that same moment. I don't think it was in the same moment. I just felt her response. And it felt like my hug felt foreign to her. And not that I'm foreign, but the embrace was foreign to her. I could feel it from her. And I noticed it. And yeah. So we spoke on the phone, like, I guess a few days later. And then she told me, when you hug me, like, I like, I'm not used to that, basically. Because she said I didn't get that much growing up and stuff. And I was like, I noticed. And she was like, yeah, but you my sister, like, I was like, girl, you my sister too, right? And we was just talking, but it's just the personality differences and how our personality types can be influenced by our upbringing is what I want to say here. And I was just like looking up the difference between someone who hugs and someone who does not. And I don't know. I was looking at like what it means to be a hugger. And it said things like one is like more sociable, more agreeable. Someone who has a positive outlook on relationships. And I feel like it was kind of accurate, I think. I mean, I don't agree to everything though. However, I can look at a situation from a diplomatic standpoint. So I could see both sides. Like, usually when people argue, I could see why one is mad and why the other one is mad. I understand. I see it. But it's just the meeting of the minds that takes time to get to, and sometimes it never gets to it. But that's just to make the point that I do see how being more affectionate, it makes you more open-minded, or your personality type is more open-minded. And I was going to say another thing. What was it? Oh, more optimistic is what I want to say. Someone who is more closed off is someone who's going to be more pessimistic than someone who is more open to hug and to embrace. And it's like that's something that is a key, that individuals who don't hug like that, there's a key that needs to be found within them to unlock that aspect of themselves so that they could get back to that loving nature. It is within them. It's just foreign if they didn't get a chance to experience it throughout their younger years. And It's like a forgotten attribute to who they are a lot of times, because I feel like love is how can I say, is that the right way to say it? Yeah, love is natural. Love is natural, just like I always mention the bonding for an infant, skin to skin on their parents, their mother and father. You put the baby, the infant, on the chest to bond with the child because it's good for their brain development and for building a relationship with the child. And so that's something that is also necessary as an adult, because adults need love throughout every phase of your life. My words came out lazy. For every phase of our lives, love is necessary. I could say love is required, but it doesn't feel right to say that, but it is necessary. I think that's a better choice of words. Love is necessary. The human connection is necessary, and it keeps one sane. Because, when you think about it, when people go to prison and they get put in, I think they call it the hole. That's the hood way to say it, I think. That's like a slang term, but it's solitary confinement. Okay, is, I guess, the textbook title of that positioning, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what to call it, of that situation. That is a punishment. Okay, to have somebody in solitary confinement is a punishment. And I remember watching one of those documentaries about prison, because I look at all types of stuff. I be wanting to know what be going on around me in the world. So I'll watch things that many others probably wouldn't watch. I mean, I know there's people that would, but yeah, I don't know how can I say? I know some people might not be interested, but I want to know what's going on in people's minds, what happened to people, why are they the way they are? Like, I want to know what happened. That's just how my brain works. But yeah, I saw one documentary and they said they had this man in solitary confinement for like a year. And I can't remember if he was able to go outside in the courtyard or not. I can't remember that. I'm not sure. And it may have been like, it was something strange, like something crazy, like he can go outside in the courtyard after a certain period of time of not going out at all, like not seeing daylight at all is crazy. Just in the darkness for months on end is wild. And that is true punishment. That is true torture. I feel like that's a form of torture when I really think about it. And then I think something like, I heard one time before, it was something like they could only go out in the courtyard while in solitary confinement by themselves for a shorter time than everyone else. It was just something crazy and off the wall, right? And that's not normal for humans. That is not normal. That is not healthy. So I say all that to say that if you're someone who does not like to be hugged, even though in a way there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you don't know the person, you want what you want, you don't want what you don't want. And I think it also has much to do with how you're aligned in the stars, like the time and day you were born down to the second, the millisecond. It does influence your personality as well. However, when you know that you didn't actually receive much love as a child, and deep down inside that that's the reason why you don't really like that, that's something that you want to work on. That's shadow work that could really help you to be more accepting. I'm not saying don't be discerning, because you always need discernment, because you can't be walking around trusting everybody. However, you do want to be more open to experiences, because it makes you closed off and more weary than you should be, even though nowadays you want to be careful, you want to be cautious. You know, there's nuances to everything. So I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. But I'm just saying, like, if you know it's safe to love and give love, it's kind of like, it's just something that you want to work on. That goes into a very deep topic, and I can speak about it from many different angles, but I'm just going to keep it simple, okay? Because this is a short message, and I just want to leave it short. But this message is really just about, I just wanted to express the fact of the personality differences between someone who is a hugger and someone who is not, and how, from what I've experienced, I do see that there is some validity to how someone who is a hugger tends to be more optimistic than someone who is not, because I've seen it multiple times. So yes. And being pessimistic all the time can be very draining. I also want to mention that. It could be very draining, and it could take a toll on your mind, on your relationships to a certain extent. It doesn't have to be severe, but it can take a toll. Being pessimistic all the time, you should ask someone, just as a little social experiment, ask someone that is like a pessimist. Ask them if they feel it's draining. I'm sure they do, because that is a lower frequency energy, and anytime you get around lower frequencies, it's draining. Just like I know some of you have family members or friends that have like because sometimes opposites attract, and it's not that your friend is horrible, because they don't have to be, but they could just be a pessimist. But they could be cool, but they just a little pessimistic. Or it could be like a colleague, someone someone you work with. And sometimes to be around those types of people, if you're around them for long enough, it could be draining, because you're on one end of the spectrum thinking about the growth mindset and where we going, and they be stuck thinking about what went wrong and why they can't go. So that's like a push and pull. You're always being dragged into the opposite direction around someone who is a pessimist if you are an optimist. So sometimes it could be rough, but it's not like that. Sometimes it's not like that for the entire experience. It's just something that could happen. Okay, and it's like no shade. It's just what it is. It just is what it is, right? So yes, that is it for this message. Yes. And if this message resonates with you and you do understand where I'm coming from, drop it down in the comments below and tell me, are you a hugger or not? And if you're not a hugger, why do you think you're not a hugger? Do you think it is because of how you were, the time you were born, like how you align with the planets and the stars, dependent on your birth chart? Or do you think it could be more so of you not really receiving much love as a younger person? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.